On January 12, 2023, Tesla lowered the price massively across its models in the US as well as other countries. The price decreases range from 6% all the way down to 23% for the Model Y performance. And the big question that has been going around is, how will this impact Tesla's financials? I've spent the last couple days running some numbers, and I think the results may surprise many. But first, let's create a baseline so we're all on the same page. And we'll start with a very simple question. How many cars could Tesla sell in the first quarter of 2023? Let's start by looking at how many units were on hand at the end of Q3 2022. On Tesla's earnings deck, you can see that the total production for Q3 2022 was 365,923 units in total, which correlates to roughly 8 days of global vehicle inventory, or days of supply. If we do some math, this implies roughly 32,000 units in inventory at the end of Q3. If we move forward to Q4 2022, you can see that Tesla produced 439,701 units and delivered 405,278. That difference adds another 34,423 units to inventory. And this brings the total to 66,242 inventory units at the end of 2022, which, if you take their latest production figures from Q4, this implies roughly 12 days of inventory. And if we put this within the context of the rest of the car industry, you can see that Tesla is somewhere around this level, which is half as much as Toyota, Kia, or Lexus, which are considered best in class. Now, I believe the key thing to take away from these price decreases is that Tesla is at a comfortable spot to really start pushing demand. And you can see that 2 days after this price decrease went into effect in the US, Model 3 and Model Y inventory was cut by more than half. These data points imply that Tesla should be at capacity, meaning that it's selling as many cars as it can produce. But let's define what capacity means in this respect. If we look at this chart, which is on Tesla's Q3 earnings deck, you can see that Tesla has outlined what their capacity is by model and by region. If these get totaled up for the whole year, this is roughly 1.9 million units per year, which is roughly 36,000 units weekly or 470,000 quarterly. Now, if we look back to Q4 2022, you can see that Tesla's production was 439,000 units. This implies an 8% production growth from Q4 2022 to Q1's estimated of 475,000. If you're enjoying this video, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. Thank you so much. And so the question becomes, is an 8% production growth possible? Looking at Q3's production figures, Tesla produced 365,923 units, and in Q4 they produced 439,701 units. This implies a 20% production growth in Q4 versus Q3, which seems very achievable if we put it within the context of 8% growth for Q1. And again, since Tesla has massively dropped prices, this implies that Tesla is looking to push its capacity to the maximum. With a full pipeline of inventory of roughly 12 days, this implies that production should equal deliveries. This implies that Q1 2023 delivery target is somewhere around 475,000 units. Now, one of the cons for Q1 in 2023 is that you have a short month in February, which is 28 days, and you also have the Shanghai New Year holiday, which will remove some days from production. However, it's important to recall that Tesla has 66,000 units in inventory that they could pull forward in Q1 to shore this gap. And so depending on how Tesla recovers from a short month and the Shanghai holiday, and if they decide to pull forward units that they have in inventory, the low end for the quarter could be around 450,000 units, and the high end could be somewhere around 500,000 units. But more importantly, these cars are being sold at significantly lower prices. So what does this mean for margins? Here's a model that I've put together with Q2 and Q3 actual earnings, Q4 estimates, and Q1 estimates. What I'd like you to focus on is the average selling price delta from quarter to quarter. When Tesla went from Q2 to Q3 deliveries, the average selling price dropped by roughly 5%, and their cost of goods sold, which is how much it costs to build the car, also went down by about 5%. Now, because Q4 earnings aren't out yet, I'm assuming a roughly similar drop in Q4, only slightly higher in the ASP because of some late year incentives. And I'm assuming the same for COGS because of Berlin ramp, Austin ramp, and other cost benefits as well. But more importantly, for Q1, I'm assuming a 12% drop in average selling prices from an already depressed Q4. Now, you may say when looking at the price drops that 12% is too low. Model 3 rear-wheel drive is a 6% drop, but Model 3 Performance is a 14% drop, and the Model Y long range is a 20% drop. And so obviously this is much higher than 12. However, it's important to keep in mind that when customers see a lower price for a car, typically they add more options, they go for higher trims. There are new shoppers that never bought a Tesla before that now would buy a higher trim spec. There will also be more Model S's and X's sold in the quarter because their prices have dropped as well. But they're significantly higher than the average selling price of $50,000. Plus, we could have some FSD take rate. Now, there's going to be a proportion of this happening, but it's important to keep in mind that just because Tesla dropped the prices 20%, it doesn't mean that it's going to take a 20% hit on price. And so the number that I've come up with is roughly around 12%. This could change the closer we get to Q1, but this is where I feel comfortable right now. But more importantly, we also have to pay attention to how the cost could drop quarter over quarter. For Q1 2023, I've assumed a 6% drop, which is a little bit more than Q4's 5.6% drop, and also Q3 actual drop of roughly 5%. However, it's important to keep in mind that if Tesla is able to produce 475,000 units in that quarter, the cost could be significantly lower than people think. And this is because deflation is in full force in the supply chain given the recession that we're entering or are already in. You could also have favorable contracts for Tesla because these suppliers could have a glut of inventory since the rest of the auto market is down significantly year over year. You will also have Austin and Berlin at a higher ramp rate, which implies a lower per unit cost. You also have a fixed cost structure, which means that if you can maximize the unit of cars you can push to the factory, your per unit cost will come down. And lastly, you also have a $30 kilowatt hour credit that the IRA has implemented starting January 1st. However, these variables are very hard to gauge, and for now, I'm assuming a 6% drop in Q1's cost versus Q4. And so this 12% drop in average selling price and the 6% drop in average costs implies roughly a 23% auto gross margin for Q1. And on 475,000 deliveries, this is still $5.2 billion of gross profit from the auto business, and about 14% less than the estimated Q4 earnings. But again, this gross margin number could change drastically based on how quickly and how effectively Tesla can lower its costs. Once Q4 earnings come out, I will redo this model and post my latest findings. And as we near the end of Q1, I will continue to track all my data channels to see if there's any updated information I can use to update my model. However, in the meantime, do let me know what you think of this model. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you'd like to discuss this and other topics in depth with my community, do consider becoming a patron using the link in the description or by signing up through YouTube right below this video by clicking on join. This will give you access to our private Discord and you'll get other perks as well. You can also support the channel by purchasing merch like the one I have listed here or using the promo code for Athletic Greens, which is a supplement that I use every single day and I have done so for years. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.